How y'all doing? Good afternoon.
I know it's not a great memory of last year, but can you take me back to that game in Kansas and just what you took from it as a coach?
Yeah, obviously it was an incredible teaching moment for me as a coach. I think anytime there was obviously some things that you go into that game you think you're prepared for, and they get exposed, and there were some things I felt like we were on the opposite side of, or the receiving end of, right? Like I just felt like we had opportunities to take the ball away. I felt like we had opportunities to make tackles. I felt like we had opportunities to capitalize on some things and get off the field on third down. We didn't properly execute on every single level. And so I had to, obviously as a coach, anytime you suffer a loss like that, anytime you go through a loss like that, I think one thing you deal with is why, right? You ask yourself why, and what could you have done different to ensure that you had success. And so just from that standpoint, I probably watched the Kansas game probably about 100 plus times, just in terms of what we did, what I liked about that game, what we didn't do well at. Obviously, we had opportunities to take the ball away. That was probably one of the biggest ones, we didn't. I know Xavier forced a fumble early, and their guy was trailing, and he did a good job and ended up falling on it. But like just trying to create havoc from a defensive standpoint and capitalize on those opportunities, and we missed them, right? There were some schematic things that I thought that they had a leg up on us in terms of game planning, and so it was definitely a teachable moment, and I think when you're in that moment, it's so hard, but it's so reminiscent of life, like a lot of times you can, for everybody who has children in here, you can talk to your children till they're blue in the face about what to expect, about this is how you handle this situation and this is how you handle that situation, and try to teach them those things verbally. But it's not truly until they go through it that they fully understand it, And so I think for me, being in that moment, truly fully understanding the moment I was in last year and being able to grow from that, and our players being able to grow from it, is probably one of the biggest things for me as a coach that I've probably learned over my time here at the University of Illinois.
Anticipate anything different about them with a new coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they do have a new offensive coordinator, right? He does a great job, Grimes. He does a tremendous job in what he does for them offensively. Obviously, he was at Baylor the year before. I think Coach Leopold I think they're going to do what they do from a schematic standpoint, right? Like, I think they want to run the football. I think that's been how they operate and how they want to do things. And you know what? The reason why, because they're damn good at it, right? You have two backs, right? Three backs that could run the ball like that. I don't know if I would ever get away from that, right? And now to complement that, you have a quarterback who I think is probably one of the most talented dudes in college football with his arm strength and the way he delivers the ball down the field. You complement that with some really good wideouts. They got a pretty good offensive team, and obviously their guys up front, they get off the ball. And so I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do, but looking at it from a defensive standpoint, shoot, you got two pretty stable horses in the backfield, right? I don't know why you wouldn't run the ball, you know what I mean? And that's not a knock on their throw game. I think their throw game is tremendous, right? I think they got some really, really good wide receivers, and that's a testament to the guys they recruited. But I think they're going to be who they are, and I think that's a testament to Coach Leopold and what he's done there.
And obviously, you guys are excited about Caleb Patterson and Torrey Cox, but what more do you want to see out of Terrence Brooks to kind of maybe elevate himself back up?
Yeah, I think everybody wants to see. Everybody's asking that question a little bit. Obviously we go through fall camp, and as coaches, we try to evaluate things and try to be as unbiased as possible to give ourselves the best chance to operate and win. And like even during the course of the game, we just felt like there were some situational things that we really hadn't seen in a full live game situation. And when once coach decided he wanted to rotate and pull the ones out for the twos, that's when we ended up doing it, right? Whether it was on offense or defense. And so I think Terrence has been doing a really good job. It's just, I think right now it's some guys just from a defensive standpoint, some guys that we feel as a staff are just doing a little better. That's not a knock on the young man, because athletically he is truly gifted. But I think when you look at the framework of playing tough, smart, dependable football, it's not a me show, it's a we show, right? And so just overall, right, as coaches, that was the decision we made. Obviously, Coach B has the last saying in that, and he ended up deciding to pull. Once he pulled the ones out, then that's when Terrence had a chance to get in.
How's he responded to those conversations? That would seem a challenge at some point there, right?
Yeah.
So
he's responded like any young man that's highly competitive. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think when you're in that moment, naturally, right? Like, there's some frustration there, but we have been. One thing about me, and one thing I've always kind of learned from the guys that I've been able to work under and coach under is, if you're transparent from the start, you don't have to be as a kid, right? If you're transparent from the get-go, if you care about that kid from the get-go, when things that are hard and challenging to that young man come up, he's gonna take it as an opportunity to grow in it and not an opportunity as frustration and coaches don't like me, right? And so had I not had a relationship with T. Brooks, had I not recruited Terrence, had I not done all these things even prior to the season, yeah, he'd probably be pissed off and really, really upset. But, you know, like, at the end of the day, right, like, the goal, like, in my opinion, this is probably one of the greatest team sports in the world, you know, because you can be individually an incredible player, right? And although you're individually incredible, how do you fit within the framework of what we do collectively, consistently, right? Consistently, not just one time or twice, right, but consistently. And so he's been improving at that, and he showed yesterday, right? He's taking a step forward yesterday. We got practice tomorrow, and so the more we keep doing that, I think he's going to be in a great situation.
You used Gabe Jacas in a variety of ways. What have you seen from his growth where you feel good about him learning two different positions?
Yeah, you saw that, huh? Moving around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that you know, we you know, coaches always telling us, like, how can we put players in the best position to be successful, right? And I think for Gabe, like that transition from outside to inside is so seamless for him, right? And I know we didn't have a ton of sacks. Well, you know, they were the quarterback typically delivered the ball around 3 seconds. Well, against us, it was at 2. Right, and for my people who like to keep time, that is significantly different in the throw game when that occurs, right? He's getting the ball out relatively fast. But, you know, Gabe, you know, to be able to slide him outside, move him inside, you know, I'm sure what you guys saw, it's just really maximizing his ability. Like, because we think Gabe is truly, truly special. And you only do that with guys who you think can handle it. And so he obviously knows his value and the success that he can have at either position, depending on what package that we're in. So, yeah, Gabe is a one of one, right? Gabe is very unique and very different. And when you have very unique and very different players, you have to utilize them to their strengths. And so we're always thinking, how can we get the best player in the best position against a matchup that we think is favorable, right? On every down and distance, right? So those were some of the thoughts that kind of go on behind the scenes. That was probably the reason why you saw him inside a little bit and outside.
Aaron, we've heard you and Coach B talk about Joe Barna all camp. But considering the guys in front of him on experience and talent on the depth chart, you know, Seth, Gabe, Alec Bryant, even Daniel Brown coming in from JUCO, how would you describe his ability to be able to get a piece of what you guys are doing as a true freshman?
I think what's so cool, man, like, again, right, like, there were so many players across the country, right, who were highly touted, who had all these different offers, right? And, like, what I love about college football and about finding guys at the high school level is there's so many diamonds in the rough that kind of go unnoticed, right? There's so many diamonds in the rough, right? Once they get in a proper place and they become developed, you kind of see them flourish and blossom. And, you know, when Joe Barna got here, we saw things on tape that gave us an inkling of how talented this young man was. But it's not until you see him in practice. It's not until you see him in the trenches with some of our old linemen. It's not, right, you have Gabe Jacas, right? You have Seth Coleman. He has some really, really good older guys around him. And he's like, Joe Barna's almost like an old man because he's so low maintenance, right? Like he doesn't really say much, right? If you tell Joe Barna, I want you to go outside and run 10 miles, he will ask you, how fast do you want it ran, right? He's one of those young men, like when I tell you a coach's play, like that's the kind of guy you want, like in your program, because you can tell him the sky is green and he gonna tell you, Coach, you're right, right? He's gonna do exactly what you tell him. And as a result of that, he's just constantly gotten better, right? Like he is only scratching the surface of his ability and his skill set, right? Because he's so low maintenance, because he is such a junkie for wanting to be great. He's such a junkie in the film room, right? Like when we say something, right? Like when we bring up names, I know sometimes we bring up names and you guys kind of like, well, I didn't think about that one. Well, it's something that we see on a consistent basis, you know, that kind of gives us that insight and intel. And when you've seen it before, right, whether it's at your previous stop or hear from some of our older players, you start to grow and appreciate it, because like this young man is, he has the ability to be like really, really special. And he doesn't really cater to everything that's going on outside. Like I asked him walking in the building about 4 days before the game, you know, I'm like, what's going to be your first celebration when you get a sack? Not knowing that he was going to have the only sack of the game, but he's like, Coach, you know what? I haven't really thought about that. I was like, well, you need to start visualizing yourself getting a sack. He was like, you're right. Right? And so obviously he took heed to that and he got a sack. You know what I mean? And we got to work on the celebration a little bit. But to say the least, man, just to see that young man take the steps that he's taken in this defense with the amount of players that we have at that position, it's truly awesome. It's a testament to how we recruit. It's a testament to Coach B, right? It's a testament to this tough, smart, dependable brand that we rely on and depend on. Like when we're going out finding players who may not have all the stars and okay, this guy's a no-star recruit, a one-star recruit, we know something that y'all might not know. That's what it is, right? We know something that y'all might not know, and he fits exactly what we do. And it's just been so awesome to see his maturation and growth during this time.
How much correlation do you put between an off-season and a fall camp emphasizing mayhem and 4 takeaways on Thursday night?
A lot. You know, I think it's truly surprising how is minor as that may have been to us as adults, our young men have taken it and ran with it, right? There is a sense of pride of standing in front of your teammates knowing that you're the Mayhem King. There's a sense of pride of getting recognition from your teammates because you went out and did something that helped us as a whole. And so, like, again, like just during the offseason, there was a lot of thought just put into like what can we do defensively that can just help us just create more takeaways, man. Give us. We know on any team you're on, if you create more takeaways and give your offense more times to score, complementary football, the chances of you winning heighten. Like that's common sense. Like that's football 101. And so there is no number, there is no goal. Our goal is to go out there and try to get as many as we can. And so, like my grandmother always said, you get what you emphasize. And there's been a major emphasis on that, starting from spring ball of last year to fall camp to now.
This is the last one here. How did you like the defensive line play against Eastern Illinois, and what kind of challenges does Kansas impose?
Yeah, I think we could have done some things up front a little better in terms of our technique. I thought our technique was good. I thought for the most part we knocked back on the front side and squeezed on the back side. You know, you've seen a lot of really good, beautiful finishes from the guys inside and on the edge of our defense, right? But you know, against a team like Kansas, because of the problem that running back presents, right? Like he can squeeze through the smallest gap, you know, and he has ability once he's on the second level. You know, he is so dynamic, you know, and so it's going to be a real emphasis for us moving forward, right? Not just against Eastern Illinois, but moving forward from Kansas and on. We're going to play against some pretty special running backs, right? And this young man, right? He's the first of a handful of backs we're going to play that I believe have that next level ability. And so not just owning our gap and owning our responsibility, but just making sure we have really good eyes and we're just really sound on primary, secondary responsibilities up front, because he can start one way and cut back and you can miss him in a blink of an eye, you know. And so I think one of the things I'm really looking forward to, right, like we have a really, really good team in Kansas. They really coached well, right? They're ranked, right, coming to our home stadium, and we couldn't be more excited about it from not only a team standpoint, but from a defensive standpoint, right, to go out there and play them. We're really looking forward to it.